Thank you, Khaled. I definitely did, but I described it first as a blessing that rich is as a partner that brings rich blessings. So that was the first thing, and then I also cautioned that it potentially does bring a set of Pandora's box issues, and it really is summarized in. I was doing a bit of a quick desktop research before this conversation, and one of the things that comes up quite clearly is that even though betting is pervasive in sport, and that conversation, by the way, and my article was not so much about Betway and PSL, but more betting as a partner to sport. The what is emerging is that the more the money of betting and gambling comes into sport, the more there are issues that are cropping up that are concerning for a lot of people. The fans are concerned about the impact of gambling on the sport and its impact on other vulnerable groups like young children and gamblers that may be trying to quit or begging to quit. There are concerns that people have raised and that are around the impact on the players. In the Premier League, for example, two players over the last 2 years have served long sentences for gambling offences. So, the recent study by a gambling awareness entity in the UK has found that 50%, more than 50% of Premier League clubs are breaching the self-imposed code of conduct around how they manage gambling. And finally, the University of Bristol has a unit called Gambling Harms Unit, which looks at the impact of gambling on sports. And what it has found is that the gambling companies are not abiding by the code that they have accepted and implemented themselves, and they're also breaching the regulations because gambling, as you know, is an activity that is governed by an act of parliament, both here and in the UK and in most parts of the world. So that's the Pandora's box I was referring to in my article. I have not seen anything of that sort. At the launch, there was a question about that and the issue of integrity, and the PSL and Betway both committed to ensuring that they managing that, but there has been no published activity or any elements that demonstrates that there is a very deliberate public management of this particular aspect of the partnership. I mean, for me, one of the things that sport in this country needs to start doing a lot more is accountability and transparency. If you listened in the week of the announcement of sponsorship, there were a lot of people who were asking questions about, is this the right thing to do? Should sport be doing that? Now, that in itself suggests that there's a lot of suspicion around the intentions and what this may do. So it is therefore incumbent upon the leaders of sport in this country. And this is, by the way, not just a football problem. I mean, the reality is that betting is in rugby, is in cricket, is in netball, is in football. It's all across the board. So the conversation we're having may be directed or linked to the PSL and Betway, but the reality is that all of the major sports in this country have betting partners, and a lot of the questions we're talking about here are relevant for them. It's absolutely key, and really one of the key things that for me is important here is that because of the fact that the big one of the biggest drivers of betting and gambling right now is sport. So I do absolutely accept and expect that most of the resources coming out of that then must come back to sport in some way. So it's important, therefore, that the sporting bodies like PSL and SAFA and SARU and cricket can demonstrate how the betting money benefits the bigger system, not just the clubs, not just the leagues themselves, but how they're using that to build more courts, how they're using that to train more coaches, how they're using that to get more kids to play sport. So again, it goes back to accountability and transparency. At the end of the year, when they report back on the success of the year, one of the things they should be saying is that in the last year we trained 150,000 young kids and on football. We spoke to all our senior players that are registered in the PSL about gambling and how to manage themselves around that. We built 25 courts around the country. That's the level of transparency and reporting that we would expect. And it would only make sense and worth the risk that they're taking if they start doing things like that.